brand new setup. Wow! You might notice that I've got a slightly different setup. I kind of figured that just talking in front of this white wall behind me was kind of impersonal, and I always felt really awkward, and I wasn't very happy with the videos that I was shooting against this wall. So I wanted to change it to be a bit more like a conversation that you could get involved with as well. So to do that, I thought I would just relax a little bit. So hello everyone, my name's Claire, and today we're going to be figuring out why snow doesn't mean that climate change or global warming is a hoax. It's been pretty cold here recently in the UK, and we've even actually had snow, and over in America and Canada they've had the polar vortex, which is pretty brutal. So surely because of all this, climate change, global warming, it's all a hoax, right? The thing is, weather and climate are slightly different things. They both kind of work together and are linked, but they're not the same. So what exactly is weather, climate, and climate change or global warming? Let's find out. So we're going to start with weather. Weather is local and over a short period of time. It's the day-to-day state of the atmosphere in, say, your town or your city. So it can change over the course of minutes or weeks, and it's a combination of temperature, humidity, precipitation, which is rain or snow, cloudiness, visibility, and wind. Climate is actually the weather, but averaged over a longer period of time, usually around 30 years, but can be centuries as well. Now this will encompass kind of the whole country or even the whole world. Climate is mainly determined by looking at the temperature at kind of ground level, but also at precipitation, so that rain and snow again. It may also include humidity, wind, and the seasons. Global warming is just a part of climate change, just a small segment. And it's classified as the long-term rise in the average temperature of the Earth's climate system, which means that basically our Earth is gradually getting warmer and warmer. Now some of that might be just the natural cycles of the Earth, because it does kind of get warmer and colder over centuries, but the problem is that it's getting warm a lot quicker than it should, and that's partly because of our human effect on the planet. What kind of changes is it having, and why is this a problem? The changes are actually going to be different depending on where you are. It's different for different places, as different places have different climates. Anyway, the climate in the UK is very different than what it would be in kind of the tropical rainforests of South America. Sometimes it's not actually that noticeable. Here in the UK, it's not actually being something you can see, but in other places you do get very extreme weather events that are getting worse because of this global warming and climate change. Things like tropical cyclones and flooding, as well as really powerful heat waves. Even here in the UK, it does seem like every single month we hear that it's the hottest that month has been on record. And that will have a big effect on animals and plants in the area. So for a start, farmers are really struggling. If you work in the farming industry, you might have already realised it's a lot harder to keep your crops healthy and growing, especially with drought and heat waves. The plants just can't survive. But it's not just the farmers that are struggling. Lots of wild animals are struggling as well. Now you might think in Africa it's already pretty hot, so surely the animals are going to be fine. But actually lots of these animals are already kind of working at the max capacity. They're used to that heat, they've got the best adaptations to keep themselves cool, and so getting warmer, they can't really do anything more to cool down. Now this can be seen in animals like hunting dogs and cheetahs, beautiful, beautiful animals who rely a lot on running, either very, very fast or very long distances after their prey. Now these animals already struggle against other predators, bigger predators like lions and hyenas, who tend to steal their kills. So these are the first ones being really affected by the change in temperature. Because let's face it, I don't like doing exercise in a heat wave. I'm sure you don't like exercising in a heat wave either, and neither do the animals. So it's actually shown that they're going on less and less hunts, their hunts are less successful, and they're having to change their hunting patterns, hunting at different parts of the day when the other predators are already more active. Typically, hunting dogs and cheetahs would hunt in the middle of the day, but with tourist groups disturbing their hunts, unfortunately, and with the heat being too much for them to handle, they're having to move slightly earlier or later, which is when actually lions tend to hunt. Lions hunt more at dawn and dusk, and so overlapping that hunting is going to be a really, really big problem, and the smaller animals like the hunting dogs and cheetahs are going to lose out. So these are kind of big changes we can see already, but there are smaller changes that can actually be a bit more damaging to our ecosystems, like the slight change in seasons. So as we can see from this last week, we can still get snow. Snow is still a thing. It's not going away probably anytime soon. But if you're my age, I'm nearly 30, and you live in Europe, you might remember having white Christmases. So the snow over here in the UK used to fall between November and February, and I remember having lots of actually white Christmases or white Decembers. But now the snow tends to fall in January and can be all the way up to April as well in some cases. Now that might not seem like it'd be much of a problem, but the slight shift in seasons can really affect animals, particularly those who are dormant over the coldest months. For instance, invertebrates like butterflies or amphibians like frogs are emerging far earlier because of the milder weather, and then they're not able to survive when the cold snap hits, like now. Now these smaller animals tend to be absolutely vital to food chains, so if we lose them, the whole ecosystem can collapse. Also, if we're losing our invertebrates, like butterflies, like bees and wasps, farmers aren't going to be able to pollinate their crops, so this is a big problem to us growing food as well. It's not just a problem for nature out there in the wilds that we don't relate to, it is a problem for us as we're not going to be able to grow as healthy and viable crops. So what exactly can we do? Well, to be honest, as a whole, as one person, there's not loads you can do by yourself. But if everyone makes small changes to their lives, we can make a big difference. So that's a good thing to think about. And I think the best way to get a whole community involved is to make changes yourself, and then just spread the word about what you've done and what you've kind of changed and why you've changed it, and then hopefully others will kind of follow in your footsteps and realise that this would be a really good thing to do and that it's easy. So what have I actually done to reduce my carbon emissions? Well, we've done a few different things. We started out with kind of changing our light bulbs to energy efficient light bulbs. Sometimes it does take a while for them to turn on and warm up, but I mean, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. I don't mind waiting a minute to be able to see. But the newer, more expensive ones, if you can afford those, are actually really good and will kind of come on very, very bright straight away. So you can always invest in one of those. We also make sure we turn things off at the wall, like our TV and my computer. We don't leave them on standby because again that does waste a decent amount of energy. So we turn those off at the wall when we are leaving the room or going to bed. And we make sure that when we leave the room for even just a minute to go to the toilet, we turn off the lights. So these are really, really simple things that has actually reduced our energy bills. So that's a win to begin with, but will also over time help contribute to saving the environment. Especially if everyone on our street did it, that would save a lot of money and a lot of emissions. Another thing we've been doing recently is we've got on our bikes and we've cycled into town. It's about a 40-minute cycle to get into Cambridge, where we live, to go to the shops. We've both got baskets on our bikes as well, so we can carry any shopping in those. And again, it just means we're saving petrol, we're not driving to town, and we're also not having to pay for parking, so that's also a win. We would use public transport, but being the UK, if you're not in London, public transport is absolutely abysmal and incredibly expensive, so we've gone for the cycling option. Another thing that is really well done in our area. We're not doing it personally because we rent our house and can't make any changes to it, but more or less every house on our street has solar panels, which is really, really amazing. There's so much renewable energy here in Cambridge. It's really quite nice to see. There's fields and fields of kind of solar panels just outside of Cambridge, and a lot of houses have solar panels on their roof as well. So again, I believe your energy cost is cheaper using those, saving money and saving the environment. So if we had our own house, we would definitely look into that. It's just obviously a very expensive thing to set up in the first place. So we've started with the easier things that do save us money and weren't expensive to set up. And you can start there as well. It's not hard to... It is hard at first to turn off lights because I am honestly great at leaving lights on when I leave a room. But over time you kind of get into the habit and yeah, you get to save energy, so woo! So I'd love to know of any other things that we could do that would be really easy for us to do, especially in a rented house, and would be simple things to change in our lives. If you've got any ideas of what else we could do to reduce our carbon emissions, do put them down in the comments below, and hopefully we can get a really good community talking about things that have worked for them and what we could do. And we can save the planet together! So yeah, thanks so much for watching this. Let me know what you think about this kind of more chatty version, more kind of relaxed version, if you prefer it this way or if you prefer me just presenting at you. I am also going on a trip soon. We're going away to Denmark. We're going to be possibly staying in Copenhagen for most of the time, but we might be travelling around Denmark as well. So if you've got any tips on what we can see in Denmark and Copenhagen, pop them down in the comments below as well, especially if it's things that are a bit unusual that a lot of tourists don't see. And then we're going to be also going to Oslo, Norway for a few days as well. So again, if you've got any tips on what to do there and what to see, please put the comments down in below. Please put some suggestions down below for that as well, because that would be really useful. I'm hopefully going to be doing videos on both those places for kind of the travel side of this channel. So yeah, that'd be great if you could do that. Thanks so much for watching this and listening, and have a wonderful day drinking lots of coffee. Thanks. Oh, I don't know what I said now because I had the microphone turned off. Damn it. But we're going to be both affected differently. So we're both going to be affected differently.